as we are like headed very close towards like all this geopolitical development, astral cosmic development which is happening, and which is actually making lot many people anxious, curious. Some of the people who have been asking about that, could you see any overlap, or when last time this incident happened, these planetary conjunction happened, how it actually impacted the world. So like just giving justice to that only, and just to share our astrological insight and get like views and findings of a fellow astrologer of our community. So we again have Christina as a guest on our channel. And just because on the previous occasions we have already talked about like when this US elections were scheduled, after that on different occasions we have had our discussion. And now in this video, in this session, we will be primarily focusing on the Saturn and Rahu's joint effect on the world, its impact in our personal lives, and what could be the probable outcome remedies which we can consider. So after that, just all like this the stage now to the Christina.
Thank you, Nipun. Yeah, I feel like you've talked a lot about this already for the community. So what I'm bringing today for everyone is really more of a research on past events. So for us Jyotishis, what's really kind of an underdeveloped part of our community is the research aspect. And the research is really how our ancients were able to make this a flawless science by gathering data and sharing information and starting to correlate. This is how it's a science. We correlate these events and we look in the past and see when were these conjunctions happening and what world events happened. So that's what I'm going to share with our community today. So thank you for having me back. And I will go ahead and share my screen. And there's a little bit of a delay on my end. So here we go. All right. So I'm calling this Saturn-Rahu conjunction 2025 and beyond. So here in our first image, I thought this was a very great example of where we've come from and where we're going, and kind of how it's all cyclical. Because we have here a picture of Yogi Adityanath, someone who represents a very ancient sampradaya of the Natha sampradaya. And he is in politics and he is rising very quickly. And he is in front of Guru Brihaspati with some other people. And I thought this image was perfect example of this energy of Saturn, Rahu, and the nakshatras that are really going to be coming into play. So I want to start with a simple chant. I found a really easy one to the grahas and to the patron of our Jyotisha, Ganesh. Shri Gananayakaha Brahma Murari Tripurantakare Banu Shashi Bhumi Shuto Budashka Gurashka Shukraha Shani Rahu Ketava Bhagavati Kali Durga Devyam Kuruvanta Sarve Mama Supabraptam. So to begin with, as we enter this transit portal in between the eclipses on March 29th, everybody's already familiar with this big event that's happening. We are also having our Chaitla Shukla Pratipada Yugadi. That's a mouthful there. Basically, it's the new year. It is our Hindu New Year. And what I thought was really interesting about this year is it's 2082 Kala Yukta. And when I was looking at what Kala Yukta is, it means happiness and food increases. Now, this is a little bit contrary to what a lot of the predictions that people are giving, but this is kind of the duality of nature, because as there is change and turmoil and chaos, there is going to be an increase in other positive things. So I thought this was a great omen to start the year with, it being this Vikram Samvat. Now the moon is going to be in Uttarabhadrapada, and it's going to be transiting to Revati in Meena. Now Surya will be in Uttarabhadrapada, and the Lord of the year is Mangal. Now Mangal's number is 9. Now for us, Mangal is a Deha Karaka, so he represents our body. So if any of us wanted to start a new fitness routine or eat healthy, this is the year to do it. Because with Mangal in charge, you want to bring that positive energy to yourself. Now Mangal rules Scorpio and Aries, and he is the Yoga Karaka for Mesha and Karka Rashi. So what I'm getting from this is that there's going to be a change of fate for Cancer, Scorpio, and Aries after this time of transformation. We know that these transits have been pretty hard on those 3 signs. And also from a lot of people that I know that have those lagnas, they've been suffering a lot. So, this year of Mangal will hopefully bring them out of that suffering into a very positive time of change. Now, Mangal is also an important graha when it comes to the practice of Jyotisha. So also what's happening is the Chaitra Navaratri. Now, Navaratri is the welcoming of spring, and it's the 9-night celebration of the goddess. So here's another positive energy portal that we have access to in all of this, eclipse energy and all of these grahas gathering in Pisces. This is some time of transformation where we can access this energy of the mother goddess, of Ma Durga. And this one ends with the celebration of Lord Sri Ram. Now, the birth of Lord Sri Ram, as we know, there are many dualities to our stories because they represent people that existed, but they also represent astronomical events. Now, this one ties to the astronomical event of the sun making its move north into the sign of Aries. So first I want to talk a little bit about the Rahu Shani aspects and effects. So I know, Nipun, you covered this in your past videos where you went in detail on the aspects. So just a refresher for the community, the third aspect is going to be on Taurus, where Jupiter currently is. And the 7th aspect of Saturn is going to be on Virgo, where Ketu is currently transiting. And the 10th aspect is going to be on Sagittarius. Now, Shani is a yoga karaka for Vrishabha and Tula, and he lords over Makara and Kumbha Rashi. So people with the Saturn nakshatras of Pushya, Anuradha, and Uttarabhadrapada may be feeling this transit a little bit more intensely. Now, Saturn is creating new foundations in places where old systems have been uprooted and discarded. So, especially in the areas of health and education, as we've been seeing here in the United States, a lot of our health agencies have been having major overhauls that have been long overdue. And our education system is also changing. Now, this, may cause panic in a lot of people, but really when you look at the data of our education system, and we're kind of the last in the world. So I think any kind of change in that area can be a positive thing. Now, the Rahu nakshatras of Ardra, Swati, and Shatabisha will be also affected by this Rahu Shani Yuti. Now, of course, those in Sarasati, Saturn Dasha, Saturn Antardasha, Rahu Dasha, and the Rahu Antardasha are really going to be feeling the effects of this conjunction. Now, Jupiter, I'm saying, has this spiritual energy in 2025. It's even more prominent because we have this concentration of the grahas in Pisces, which is a moksha sign and Akash Tattva. So if people don't know what a tattva is or a kash, it's the ether element. Now, this is a very important energy that we should probably pay a little bit more attention to if we're starting, our journey in Jyotish, because if you know the elements, then you will know really what the energy is. Now, this is the 12th house of our Kal Purush, so it's the very final part of the journey. Now, the Lord is Guru Brihaspati, the Guru of the Devatas. Now, Jupiter is the most benefic, but you're going to have to check your ego at the door to sit at the feet of the Guru. That is one thing that we must all remember. If you're looking for a guru, or even if you're in a Western kind of, living situation, you may not have a guru, but maybe you have a mentor. And when you have a mentor, you have to just fold your hands and listen and wait your turn to become that mentor. So really 2025 is kind of setting that up for a lot of people, that they in the future will be the ones that will be mentoring others. Now, of course, Guru is in its Atichari motion. So in a normal cycle, it would take 12 years, but it's completing in 8 years. Now, this is another rare phenomenon besides this Rahu Shani Yuti. Now, this year, Jupiter is going to be in Mituna, and then it's going to go into Karka, and then it's going to go at 0 degrees on 11/11 and retrograde in Punarvasu Nakshatra. Now, one thing people may connect with Punarvasu Nakshatra is it's a redo. It seems like anytime there's a Punarvasu Nakshatra, something has to be redone or completed again. So Jupiter is bringing that energy in, especially around November 11th. So now I want to talk a little bit about the nakshatras. Now I'm going to start with Purva Bhadrapada, because Purva Bhadrapada really is the power to achieve spiritual heights. Now here I have a picture of, in the background, do you know what this is, Nipun? Can you tell? Nipun? Oh, you're
So,
muted.
sorry, I was muted. Varanasi, Kashi, Harishchandra Ghat or Manikarnika Ghat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me that's not really Purva Bhadrapada.
Yeah, yes, yes. Very, very, very true. Very true.
Yes. So this is kind of the energy of Purva Bhadrapada. There's a lot going on there, right? And then we have the deity here, Aja Ekapada. Now, Aja Ekapada is one of the 11 Rudras, and he's sometimes referred to as the unborn one-footed goat. And he is the mount of Lord Rudra. And this is an important thing to note. He is associated with floods, storms, and lightning. Okay, so if we see any weather events that have been happening, it's related to this nakshatra. Now, funerals and dangerous activities are actually considered very auspicious on the transit of this nakshatra. Now, don't go, something dangerous on Purva Bhadrapada and try it out. But really what this is saying is like, when you have to do something like that you really need to do, and there might be some element of danger, and this just happens to be around Purva Bhadrapada, that outcome will be positive for you. It's also considered one of the most mysterious and secretive nakshatras, and it's a dual nature. On the surface, it may have some kind of calm and passivity, while on the other side, it is very intense and moody. Now, I'm tying this to the yamas and the niyamas. So the first 5 yamas I am tying to Purva Bhadrapada. Now, the 5 yamas are outer practices. So let's say you're new to the spiritual path and you start these 5 outer practices. Then you move on to the 5 inner practices. So the 5 yamas of ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha fall into this type of beginning cycle that Purva Bhadrapada starts. Now, the themes for Purva Bhadrapada are destruction and violence, purification, intense yogic practices, vision quests, herbalism, tantra, and the dark side of things like cemeteries, the smashan, living in isolation, wandering from place to place. These people may find it hard to settle down, and they tend to be very self-sacrificing for a higher purpose, very justice oriented, independent. They're your preaching types. They are also excellent teachers and guides, and definitely not following mainstream. So now we go to the second half, which is Uttarabhadrapada. Now this is the blessed feet. Now this image here is an image of Antyeshti Sanskar, hopefully I said that right, or Antyakriya, which is the death ritual that is performed in Hinduism for 12 days. Isn't that interesting? It's performed for 12 days. And on the 13th day, the soul is believed to have severed its earthly ties. So that's really this energy of Uttarabhadrapada. You're taking that step. That's why it's often referred to as the blessed feet or the blessed steps. Now, the deity is Ananta Shesha, the divine serpent, the seat of Lord Vishnu. And he is often tied to Ahirbudhyana, the serpent of the deep. Some texts will even tie this to Patanjali. So that is the image here left is Patanjali. Now, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras were said to have been written by a divine incarnation of Adi Shesha, who was responsible for Ayurveda, also in some texts. Yes. What were you going to say, Nipun?
No, yeah. I'm saying, yeah, very nicely crafted. Yes, very true.
Okay. Yeah, I just threw that in there because my guru actually said that the Yoga Sutras were written by Adi Shesha, and that he's tied to Ayurveda. But it's really interesting because I never heard that in my Ayurveda college, that Adi Shesha was responsible for Ayurveda. You always hear, Charaka, right, is the writer of Ayurveda, Charaka Samhita. But I was doing a deep dive on this, and actually, Charaka, much like what we are finding out about all these, is not one person, but many. And the interesting tie to these nakshatras, which is why I included the Yoga Sutras, is Charaka actually means somebody that wanders in the forest. And that's totally, Purva Bhadrapada, the wandering saint, the wandering mystic. So it definitely fits in with these two nakshatras. Now, the themes of Uttarabhadrapada, of course, this is more of a softer nakshatra than Purva Bhadrapada. So this is more about the inner exploration, Kundalini practices, learning about the nadis, learning about pranayama, learning about transcendental meditation, seclusion, isolation, resting, occult studies, tantra, mantra, yantra, research, meditation, alchemy, black magic. This is more like a little bit of the darker side, hauntings, unexplained phenomenon. Gardening actually is very prominent in this nakshatra. Construction, artistic ventures, taking a sankalp. So people that don't know what that is, that's basically making a promise that you're going to do something. Now, what's interesting about sankalp is it's actually very prominent in the Western mystery tradition. They just don't call it sankalp, but you make a promise or you're saying, I'm going to do this for however many days, and you do it every day. And if you mess up, you have to start all over again, right? So this is very much Uttarabhadrapada, Purvabhadrapada energy. This is also personal development, spiritual progress, and the ending of any habits and relationships that we have outgrown tends to happen a lot under Uttarabhadrapada. And overall, this is just like a life upgrade. Now, healing and treatment of disease are very auspicious when performed during this nakshatra. So as we started with the 5 yamas in Purva Bhadrapada, the outer practices, we go into the 5 inner purification practices, the 5 niyamas, which are Socha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. So the Bhadrapadas are a pair of nakshatras, right? Uttarabhadrapada is the product of the tapasya that was performed in Purva Bhadrapada. It represents our own inner Samudra Manthan, the churning of the poison and purification process. Now, the serpent has a dual meaning. It is the sacred Kundalini coiled at the seat of the Muladhara chakra and the wisdom it protects. Now, during eclipses, the Shushumna Nadi is more open, making the energies more favorable for meditation and deep connection to the divine source of all life. So, learning how to meditate on the chakras is a practice that ultimately prepares us for our own death. Learning how to leave the body through the upper chakras so that we can merge with God in the higher realms. That is really kind of the ultimate reason why we want to learn about the chakras, is because you want to be able to rise, right? Now, I found this quote from the Bhagavad Gita that was really beautiful. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. And this image really kind of ties together this energy of the Bhadrapadas. Now, this is really kind of a deeper dive on that energy of the Samudra Manthan. If you look here in the bottom left, this is actually from Thailand. Now, in Thailand, in the airport, I'll never forget, my sister sent me a picture. They have the Samudra Manthan just like this in Thailand, in their airport, in a big giant sculpture. And they actually know this story. So it's really interesting that, we've talked about how other parts of the world have very similar worldviews and events that occur. Now, if you look at the Samudra Manthan and you look at these different images, you can kind of see a lot of the same energy happening. Now, on the right here, we have a very scaled down version of what the Vedic universe is with all of the lokas. And here at the very bottom, you can see Vishnu on Ananta Shesh reclining all the way up until you can even see Indra. If you look really in the middle, you see Indra on Airavat and you see Ganesh there. And then coming out of the navel of Vishnu, you could see Brahma. And in the very top right, you see Ma Durga, and on the left, you see Lord Shiva. So this is a really good illustration of our microcosm and the macrocosm happening all at once. Even the same thing with the chakras. When you look at the chakras, you hear about the Muladhara is the goddess, and the Shashara, or the top 1,000-petal lotus, is Shiva. And when the Kundalini rises, it's because Shakti is rising to meet Lord Shiva. So now we're going to get less mystical. We're going to get a little bit more technical and talk about the Rahu Shani Yuti that happened in 1968. Now, this happened in Revati Pada 3. So on the left here, I have all of the minutiae, all of the different nakshatras that were involved. Now, if you look, a lot of the nakshatras are, Ashwini, right? We have Surya and Ashwini. We have Buddha and Ashwini. We have Mangal in a very, kind of harsh nakshatra of Bharani. And then we have Guru in Magha and Shukra and Shani in Revati and Chandra in Shatabisha. Now, the running joke that we have here in this house with Shatabisha is whenever Shatabisha is transiting, the government's going to try and do something. There's always some kind of thing that happens, or like revelation. Now, in this chart here, we have Shukra and Shani 1 degree apart, and Buddha and Shani are also combust. Now, I included on the bottom the Navamsha only for the reason that Rahu is still conjunct with Shani in this Navamsha chart. Now, some of the interesting things that occurred this year in 1968, we had Jacques Cousteau's undersea special. This was one of the first times the public really saw what was in the ocean. So that is really interesting, considering now we're just so used to it. But this back in 1968, when this Rahu Shani Yuti happened, it was like triggering this event. And it's in Revati, which is about the oceans, right? So we also had this Israel-Jordan conflict, and the Beatles traveled to India to study transcendental meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And the next three ones that are really interesting, they tie directly to what's going on now. The U.S. Mint stopped buying and selling gold. Robert Kennedy announced a presidential run, and the Congress then repealed the requirement for the gold reserve and then removed gold backing from our paper money. This all happened during this Rahu Shani Yuti. And I think you covered it in a previous video, Nipun, about the MLK assassination. So that also happened around this Yuti. And the Civil Rights Act. And for Canadians, Pierre Trudeau became the Prime Minister of Canada in this year. And to round out the events that occurred around this UT, there was some tornadoes and earthquakes, and Robert Kennedy ended up getting shot and killed on the campaign trail in that year of June. Now, nuclear tests in the United States and their involvement in the Vietnam War escalated, and communism began to take over Germany. So let's kind of keep these in mind as we move through and see how they play out with what's happening now. So then just a quick mention, Saturn and Ketu had a UT in 1997, and this was happening in Uttarabhadrapada. Now, what's interesting about this is there was a Guru Shani Parivartan as they were the 6th and 8th lords. Now, also including the Navamsha, they are still in a UT, but they switched axis. So instead of being, Rahu in the 6th sign and Ketu in the 12th sign, it then switched in the Navamsha. Now, what's interesting about this is in 1962, the Rahu-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn and Ketu, Mongol, and Cancer were active when President JFK was assassinated. So some world events of note in 1997. I'll just go over the highlighted ones. There was some comets that went close to the Earth. So Comet Shoemaker made its closest approach to Earth. And then the Hale-Bopp comet was directly above the sun, invisible for 18 months. And that's that right top picture. If anyone is old enough to remember that, everybody was talking about that comet. Now, another interesting thing is the second image here. Scientists cloned a sheep. So they announced that they cloned it. But a month later, the United States banned, cloning research, right? So another phenomenon that was really interesting was the Phoenix Lights. And that's this photo on the right bottom here of a U-shaped or V-shaped UFO that was reported in Phoenix. Now, if you search this up, it was 106 minutes where people saw this thing in the sky. So that's for people to research if they want to see more about it. What was interesting about this year, there was the U.S. Supreme Court was hearing internet indecency arguments. The Heaven's Gate cult committed suicide and were discovered in Rancho Santa Fe, California. And AOL began its service in Japan in 1997. So that's just a quick mention of that UT. So Rahu and Ketu were previously in Virgo Pisces axis in 2005. Now, at this time, we had these deadly tornadoes that were sweeping across the United States and 60 people were killed. Now, the first tweet sent out on Twitter was in 2005. So that happened around this Virgo Pisces axis. and construction on the World Trade Center called One World Trade Center at the site of 9/11. And in Nepal, there was a movement to end the monarchy in Nepal, and they made it a secular country in this year in 2005. There was the train bombings in Mumbai, and also in Alaska, Four Peak Mountain erupted after 10,000 years of being dormant. And Pluto was downgraded from a planet this year in 2005. And the final thing worth mentioning is the Panama Canal expansion proposal was enacted this year in 2005. So now to get back to our UT happening now. So we covered this a little bit in our previous video, so I won't go over too much of this. But to note, Saturn and Uranus will both be at 0 degrees at the same time. So anybody that studies the effects of the outer planets, Uranus is called a rune in Jyotisha. And I made note of that because I've noticed that a rune does have some effects in transit. So another thing that is worth mentioning is that Jupiter, it's going to be aspecting his own house. So he's in the 3rd house in this chart, and he is with a rune. Okay. Now, he's in the 3rd house. So the 3rd house we usually say is the house of like will, bravery, but it's also writing and communication. So the rise of spirituality, law, and righteousness, and all of these types of writings and communications are going to become very popular as an, kind of a byproduct of this UT. Now, something that was mentioned by one of your previous guests, I think his name is Abhishek. You had him on where he was talking about how this is the end of a larger time cycle as we're moving into the tail end of the Kali Yuga. So that I'm a believer of that. I do think that this UT is kind of kicking off the end of the Dark Ages. Now, some keywords for contemplation are really, this 12th house energy of dreams, new beginnings, cosmic consciousness, health revelations, daily routines, and surrender. Another word that my guru had taught me was allow. He would just say, when you have a time where you're feeling like there's a lot of darkness or you feel a lot of resistance, just remind yourself of this word allow and see what happens to the energy surrounding that event. And the final thing is to try and approach this without fear. And this is a beautiful picture of our Trimurti here with Sheshnag. So I made a little solar eclipse ritual for people that might want to try something to help boost the solar energy in their chart. Now, you can do something like this for 30 days if you really want to try it out and see how it works for you. You'd start with offering water to the sun in a copper vessel, and then you pour 1 drop in your hand, or you can just pour 1 drop on the ground after making a sankalp. So maybe you just put the water in your hand and you say that, Lord Surya, I'm offering this to you and I'm going to practice for 30 days. Please bless me with your knowledge and wisdom. And then some solar adoration. So 3 times a day, we honor the sun with the Gayatri. And, standing in Tadasana, you just hold your hands in a prayer pose. And if you don't have time to do all that, you could just go outside and stand out there, feel the sun, honor it, and go about your day. Surya Namaskar with the 12 names of Surya is also a great practice. One key practice to really avoid any kind of mental anguish, anxiety, or disturbance of sleep is to discontinue the use of all devices before bed. That's one Ayurvedic thing I tell a lot of the clients is before bed, 1 hour, get this phone, put it away, and just forget about it, because that really helps the body and the nervous system to kind of detach from all of this energy, the radiation in the phones, but also the phone increases the vata energy. And when we have this Rahu, Shani, UT happening, that's already amplifying this vata energy. So the last thing that you can try is to light a diya and then meditate on the pranava. You don't even have to chant it. You can just meditate on what is Om. Because really, I mean, there's thousands of pages about what Om is. So maybe you can have your own revelation on that. And I'll end with these three shlokas from the Yoga Sutras. And this is really helpful for those that want to learn how to skywatch. And Polaris, as we know, is that star in the sky that is like holding everything up. It's our pole star, right? So the Yoga Sutras actually says that meditating on the sun provides knowledge of the solar system. Meditating on the moon provides knowledge of the arrangement of the stars, and meditation on the pole star provides knowledge of the movement of the stars. Okay, so that's what I got there for us. It's a lot of information. You're still muted.
No, Christina, that's a great research, and I'm very much sure that our community members who are like searching a lot, because see, it's not like something very usual. Okay, good and bad is secondary. It's just like that, it's something which is unusual. And for me, as an astrologer, while doing consultation, this is what my job is, to see the overlap of the occurrence of the things. And you would surprise. I'll tell you a very funny incident. So what happened? 2 3 days back, this news has been doing rounds on the social media in the news circle that in India, one of the Delhi High Court judge. So what happened? He like a fire broke out in his residence. So when the firefighters came to remove that and solve that issue, so they found heavy cash stashed in the office. And it's like, so this is how it got to know. And the inquiry happened. Now it is doing very like receiving a lot of the backlash. And when I looked at the chart of that judge, because now his face is all over there in the news and all. So he's born on 6th Feb 1969 or 59, but Saturn Rahu in the Pisces.
There you
So
go. See, but
this is how
that's
it happens.
exactly it.
Saturn Rahu in Pisces in his birth chart, and see it happened. Like, who would have thought that fire will happen, and then the problem and the investigative team will find that money stashed over there and accounted money. So yeah, it's like and I guess Krishna was nice. We can, if you, what do you say? You want? Shall we go again briefly for all the rising signs? Is a brief round?
Sure, sure. What
Yeah.
are your channelings right now?
Okay, wait. Let me share. Can you see this in the screen?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just
okay, cool.
want to briefly focus here, and we will just see it just like that for our audience, just to give them a like giveaway for they have watched the whole session, so informational. So how does it personally impacts them? So see, when we talk about for the Aries Lagna, for the Aries Lagna, I just have one thing to say that in a way they are blessed that ascendant Lord is not a part of this. That is the first blessing which they have. But the vulnerable part is that see, there is this saying which I read somewhere that any planet where it gets debilitated in that rising sign, it has some sort of enmity towards it. So for example, for Jupiter, this could be the Capricorn rising, because with Jupiter retains debilitation in the Capricorn. So we say this thing that any sign where like and so because of that, if for the Aries Lagna, if their dashas are not running very favorable, very auspicious, then yes, caution, care needs to be followed. Sleep patterns could be slightly disturbed, and refrain from any major changes and shift in their professional sphere, like like resigning or trying to shift from one industry to another industry. Again, whatever promise with which Saturn would have entered in their 12th house, it will deliver that. The only reason we are having this discussion right now is that Saturn and Rahu is making it slightly unstable. So it's like, again, it can be divided for different age group as well. Like, for example, if you are like up till 25 years of the age, or your main concern right now is of the academics. So yes, don't get distracted, focus on your grades. If you are in the middle age, then in the middle age people already can say that yes, refrain from any major career shift, refrain from any major career shift during this time. And for the old people, so yes, it's like the sleeping patterns could be slightly disturbed. People in the old age who are having some, like, knees and the legs and the feet, like some sort of issue and weakness in the legs and all. So just this is how they have to follow it. But
Right.
again, the good thing and the blessing and the vulnerability comes, like the ascendant lord is not a part of that. That's a blessing. And the vulnerability is that Saturn, the way Saturn looks at the Aries Lagna. So if with this kind of combination, someone like me, if the Aries Lagna also have their moon being in the Pisces, their moon being in the Aquarius, so that means Saturn in the transit is like this, and you're also in the Sade Sati and all. So just caution and care will be advisable for these people. That's all what I can say.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I think also for Aries, I know a couple of Aries ascendants, and I think if you're in a spiritual field, this is going to be a great time for you.
oh
Like
yes.
all of the ascendants, like just like blanket statement, if you're in the spiritual field, if you're in the medical field, if you're in the education field, this is going to be a great time for you. At first, it might be really scary because, yeah, a lot of people are going to lose jobs, but there's going to be a whole redo of all of the systems. That's why I mentioned in the beginning that Saturn, this big movement is from all of the planets to the end sign. We're seeing the end of a lot of these systems that have not been working for a long time. And really, I think, especially for Aries people, you have all these planets in the 12th house. Make sure that you're taking care of your feet. A lot of the times, you might have like a water retention issue, right? Or, just wash your feet at night or do some self massage on the feet. That's another great thing that Aries people can do to help with any kind of issues related to sleep and water retention.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like the whole planets are somehow contributing to it, right? Even from like Jupiter giving its fifth aspect to Ketu, Mars giving its fourth aspect to Ketu. So it's like the whole chart is like this. Again, see, that's what people have to understand. When an astrologer says something, so it comes as a added skill if you are spiritual as well. But purely talking from the planetary point of view, giving attention to the omens, so yes, caution and care, that's all what we have been saying. And yes, being a Aries Lagna by myself, I do not know from where, like lately, because I give attention. Today Saturday, I'm fasting on Saturday. I just did my Sundarkand. I did my whole Saturn prayers and all. I'll be doing that in the evening as well before completing my fast. But somehow lately, I've been getting this recurring thought that, okay, I need to do meditation. Why I keep on pushing too much time on the YouTube? I live in, I have got such a calm, peaceful view of the beach. I can just meditate. So that's what I took a vow kind of thing that, okay, from for the next 2 weeks, I'll be taking out time for the meditation as well. I will prioritize meditation as well. So yes, this is, I guess it's all because of the planets, right?
Yes,
So,
of course. You're like right there. Okay, so Aries Lagna, here you go. You made
okay.
a sankalp to do that, to do more meditation. That's great. Perfect. There you go. You can check that off your list.
And now, talking from the Taurus rising natives point of view. So yes, for the Taurus native, the slight concern in their case is that their ascendant lord is a part of that. That's a slight vulnerability. Second thing is that although blessing in a way that Jupiter is there in the first house. So Jupiter generally safeguards. Like generally we say that people who end up becoming a victim of any situation, that generally happens if Jupiter is not safeguarding them. So Jupiter is like a divine blessing. So that's a good thing. Third thing is that yes, the whole Saturn and Rahu conjunction in the 11th house. See, the thing is, what I have seen in the transit, like I do extensive work on the transit all the time. So Saturn and Rahu are the planets which are like from the third house, sixth house, 11th house. The malefic planets generally give good results. Like, and purely we are talking in this discussion, this whole Zoom session is on the lines of Saturn and Rahu only. Like how their sensitivity in the months of like April, slightly in the month of the May, how it is going to be influencing the Taurus Lagna natives. So yes, all what I can say is that in the matters of the 11th house, gains, recognition, sudden elevation to power. So much of the fluctuation will happen. And again, Saturn Rahu, like the way it has been generally seen on a mundane point of view, we talk about the racial profiling, discrimination, we call it. But from a personalized level, we generally say this thing that all those wish and desires which are not serving. So how to like sideline it, how to focus on something which is more fulfilling. So, and people who are connected with technology, people who are like any of the tech startup looking for investment, big sum of money. So yes, this whole fluctuation which is happening right now, Mars is also there, like their seventh lord is also there in the second house. So like even in the partnership, in some sort of funding, sponsorship, something which they are eyeing for. So this combination of the energy and we cannot overlook this fact that both Saturn and Rahu are good planets for the Taurus Lagna. They both are very good planets for them. So I
Mhm.
would say that yes, Rahu, before giving the handover to the like planet Saturn, like okay, these are the keys of the work which I have been doing it from the past 1.5 year. Now you build from here. So I would say that Taurus Lagna, I'm not seeing them that much vulnerable. All what I can say is that meditation and like meditation especially will actually give them the right path meant for them. That's, but I'm not seeing them as vulnerable as the fire signs are on the radar. If I were to say, to be honest, the Aries and the Sagittarius and the these guys, the Leo, they are the most vulnerable. They are the most vulnerable. I would not say that Taurus is that much on the line, so they don't have to worry much about anything. Certain people who are running the favorable dasha, they might strike a gold as well.
Yeah, like a Taurus. I know some Taurus lagnas, and it really depends what industry you're in. But I think people that are in the fitness industry and in real estate, they're going to do really well at this time. If you are a Taurus lagna, you're going to do excellent in real estate, especially having all these planets in the 11th house. Taurus by nature is a very hardworking sign. It's a very fixed nature. It's gonna do the work. And the only thing that comes with that Taurus energy is, stubbornness, right? And maybe a little bit of lack of patience. But really, with that Jupiter on the ascendant, I think that is bringing a kind of really nice protective grace energy for the Taurus people. And that K2 in the fifth house, people can say that that's a negative energy, but really, I don't think so. When I see that, I think of, people that are going to do meditation and set time aside on the eclipse, even if you do it for like 2-3 minutes, really activating that fifth house with any kind of mantra sadhana will be excellent for you, because that 511 access can really kind of solidify anything that you've been really wanting to kind of like close a deal on. That's for the Taurus Lagna people.
Let's Okay, for the Gemini native. So yes, even in the case of the Gemini, the slight sensitivity or vulnerability for these people is that Mars is not a very auspicious planet for them. So Mars, although Mars will move on like on April 3rd or 4th only, Mars will move. But yeah, Mars at this whole time is like transiting in the first house. The saving grace Jupiter is there in the 12th house, and yes, a lot of the action which is happening in the 10th house. But the good thing is that both Saturn and Rahu are a good planet for them. But the only concern is that it's like Saturn carries the energy of the eighth house as well. So yes, at the workplace there is going to be the like lot of like developments which will like which the Gemini natives will experience, will encounter. The good thing is that if in any capacity they are connected with the fields of the technology or like AI or diplomacy, political aspiration. So there could be some sudden development and some churning up which is going to happen in their case. Again, Krishna, like the way we say that the thumb rule of any assessment, any analysis is that transit in itself cannot override the promise of the destiny, the yogas in the chart and the running dasha. It's just like that, the yogas in the chart and the running dasha creates the package ready, and it's the transit which acts like a delivery boy. So it's
Yeah.
just like that. In the 10th house, yes, there's a lot of development which is happening, a lot of churning up which is happening. Pisces energy has got more to do with the breaking of the boundaries and breaking of all those kind of, where you're not living in the reality. You're just living in the illusion and all. You're just fantasizing about things which are not very real and all. So yes, this is the area where they will experience it. So especially if we have to divide it on the different age group as well. So people who are in the, like, if I were to say 35 to 55. So 35 to 55 are going to be like, they have to be cautious, they have to be careful, refrain from any major shift, major U-turn in the career. And yes, those who are like public figures and all, they have to be more careful because so much expectation will be pinned to them, and how they act, their public demeanor and the behavior will be observed very closely, will be monitored by people. So because Saturn and Rahu, what I've seen is that when we talk about planets of the masses, so
Mm.
Saturn, Rahu, these two planets, in a way, like, you have to become a politician. Saturn is important. You have to become a entertainment world star and all. So Rahu is important. So these are the planet, in a way, they represents the masses as well. The blind following which you get. So yes, in the 10th house, there's going to be the lot of the reassessment, introspection, with the Gemini Lagna native will be going through in the next 1.5 months. I'm sure, Christina, if you will be receiving any astrological consultation from a Gemini Lagna, the pressing, burning issue is going to be of the career. I'm thinking about
Oh,
shifting my job or shifting from one industry to another industry. That might be the
yeah.
turmoil which they have to deal with.
Yes, actually, I know some Geminis that have already one switched careers and they're kind of settling into the career. So this is, and she was asking me, she's like, "What do you think is going to happen with the eclipse?" And it's like, well, you already started the work, so that's good. It's better when you're dealing with Rahu and Ketu. It's better for you to make the choice to do the change than for K2 to do it for you. Because if K2 does it for you, it's going to be like whoosh, that ruthless
Yes.
energy, right?
Yes.
But if you do it yourself and yeah, you might be scared. You might have to leave the comfort of having a cushy job. But if you really feel in your heart that you want to change industries because it's not you anymore, then it's better that you do it. If you have the money saved, if you have all of the resources to make the change, it's better that you do it, because with these kinds of transits, the universe will do it for you, you know. But Gemini, it's okay. The Mars is gonna leave your lagna soon. So
Yes. Yes. Okay, talking about the, when we talk about the the cancer. So what happened yesterday only? Like, I was like having a word with a good friend of mine, and he told me his daughter is like Cancer Lagna, and she was scheduled for a flight from London, I guess, from London or somewhere in UK, I guess, and to Singapore. And recently, day before yesterday, there was this news that in the Heathrow airport there is a fire incident which happened, all the flights have been cancelled, and she had this discomfort because of she was traveling. Cancer Lagna, ninth house, she's in the dasha of the activated ninth house as well. So yeah, for the Cancer Lagna, the vulnerability, the slight vulnerability for these people is while undergoing planning any travel, so they have to be careful. That's the one thing which I want to say. For the spiritual clarity, any of the spiritual guidance, meditation, and all, taking a pledge, taking a vow, meditation in a way, it's going to be a very uplifting kind of energy, because ninth house, there's a lot of the, and see, the thing is, ninth house has got such a power that you would have seen that even when there is any of the, even from the older times, when a religious guru enters the court of a king, even the king, just gets up from the seat, from the throne, and bow obeisance to the divine guy. So I mean to say, ninth house has got a lot of power, no matter in which condition planets are placed over there. Ninth house has got this energy where, like, life pulls strings for you, irrespective of the fact that how much your IQ, your talent, and your worth is. somehow divinity, the divine force pushes you in the life and gives you the direction. So I would say that yes, for the spiritual, anything to do with the spiritual work, meditation, seeking divine answer and all, not something based on your rationality. Rationality is all right now sketchy right now because of the fifth lord in the 12th house, Mercury being retro, Venus being retro, in the influence of Rahu. But yes, when we talk about when you want to listen to the inner gut feel, I would say that astrologer might go wrong in the calculation assessment, but you might get an answer from the tarot. So it's like ninth house is something where like the gut feel actually guides you well. But yes, when we talk about the travels and all, so yes, the next like 1 month and all. So yeah, you have to be mindful. You have to be very careful for any of the travels related matters. The energy is not that very good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one with the Cancer ascendant. You know, maybe if they're looking to, I've noticed a lot of people really wanting to join spiritual communities. So if you're a Cancer ascendant and you're looking to, you know, find a spiritual community, maybe, you know, put that in your, you know, your prayers, your meditations, you know, if Western people that do like manifestation rituals, if you, this is the time to do that with all those planets in the ninth house, because look at all the access that you'll have to like maybe a whole different path than, you know, what you're taking right now. And it's the house of luck, right? So you're not going to be relying on like the logic of it. You're going to be relying on like the universe to bring you to the right place, to go to the temple, to meet somebody that is possibly going to be your guru, or you meet somebody at the temple that's going to teach you how to play sitar or whatever you're wanting to do, right?
Yeah, because the good part is that in even the ninth lord is there in the 11th house. So it does not seems like to be that they will be misled. So it doesn't look like they will be misled because the ninth lord is also in the 11th house.
Right.
When we look at the for the Leo natives, so yes, for the Leo natives, so in terms of the anything to do with the serendipity, accidental discovery of fortune, those things could have been foreseen, but for that they need to be running some favorable and good dasha. If in the dasha as well they are going through some vulnerable time and all, so then this is a like a cautionary kind of thing because the ascendant lord is a part of the eclipse, and Saturn and Rahu, they both are like not very good planets for the Leo Lagna and all. And generally the thing is, see why we say this thing that any of the see Saturn and Rahu are the planets of the anarchy. Like in whenever any mass protest happens, breaks down. Like for example, right now it's happening in the Turkey as well. Like right now in Turkey when we are talking, so like the Erdogan, the person who is in the command and all. So
Yes.
what did he
Yeah.
do? What did he do? He put the guy, the opposition guy who was the very strong contender to compete him and all, he put him behind the bars. He put him in the prison. The violence and the protest will break out. And if someone asks you, Nipun, what is the ideal combination of protest? Saturn and Rahu. So that's the typical
Right.
case. When Saturn is all
Exactly.
about the masses getting gathered together, and Rahu is like fueling that with
Yeah.
aggression, with the arms and all. So I mean to say yes for those people like in whose case they are in some sort of the like leadership role, and they feel that okay they have that dictatorial kind of way of doing things, and their authority cannot be challenged. Whatever they do, it's my way or the highway. So this is going to be the time when the those kind of painful encounters they have to encounter only if you're acting with that dictator kind of mindset in whichever field. So it's not like that dictators are only found on the country heads. Like in every some of the households as well, you'll find those people who like acting as a bully, dominating the whole family, those in the societies, in the schools, in the groups. So I would say for the bullies is not a very good time if you are bullying in any capacity. Those who are like, for example, you are connected with the fields of technology, you are connected with the fields of the research, you take a lot of the interest in the spirituality, in the meditation, this could be very very uplifting kind of time for them. But generally I would say that even in the fields of the tantra and all, so much better that if you are doing whatever practice you are doing it strictly under the guidance of a awakened person. So it's not like a energy where you can go hit and trial, or you will try to experiment things on your own. So don't risk that. So when you have planets like this, it's like a ticking bomb, which can be used for the good or which can burn your own hands as well. So under the guidance of a awakened guru or a teacher and all, this energy can be utilized. And yes, the only cautionary thing is for those people who have got very bloated, very kind of ego and all. So those people might have to deal with some sort of, like painful kind of experience if you're not very humble. If you're not very humble and all, and your running dashas are not favorable, then this could be a matter of concern. So yeah, that's what comes to top of my mind.
Yeah, I think also for any Leo lognas that are going through relationship issues or family breaks or family changes, I can think of one case that I know of. A Leo logna, actually, they thought that they were going to leave their family, and they went to a guru, and the guru gave them a mantra to work with, and now the family is not breaking. So this is that kind of energy that you see with this planetary, kind of cluster in the eighth house, because it's that second house and eighth house axis of family life, inheritances, that whole thing of second and eighth house. So if people have been going through a rough time with their family or their partner, and they thought they might want to break up or they want to take a break, it's a good time to maybe seek the guidance, like you said, seek the guidance of a guru or somebody that you trust, that you can help you figure out if this is the right thing for your family. Because a lot of the times, if you make these impulsive decisions around eclipses or around this type of Rahu Saturn combination with the curse yoga, it's like you might want to be a little bit more careful with the types of breaks that you do. Like you said, if you're bullying people or if you're misleading people, maybe you're somebody that's trying to be a guru and you're teaching all of these things to people that you're not supposed to be teaching.
Yes.
This is that type of energy, kind of be really careful on the ground that you tread on. But I think for Leo people, going in meditation, seeking all of these other kind of
Yes.
occult energies and practicing Jyotish, really, it's a good time for the Leos to really get, if they haven't done it for a while, they want to get back into it, get in back into your occult studies, because that will probably keep you from doing other things that might get you in trouble.
That's what, see, Christina, like all those things, like just purely from the point of view of the astrology and the planetary concentration, I'm not seeing it that vulnerable. The vulnerability comes with the omens attached.
Yeah.
So yeah, like on a Saturday, on a new moon, Saturn changing signs, then this happening, planets are already disrupted. The whole energy is disrupted. So yes, caution and care. That's all what I can say. Caution and care.
Yeah.
Now, talking for the Virgo natives. So, for the Virgo people, yeah, for the Virgo people, it's going to be happening in the seventh house. So yes, already can say that both Saturn and Rahu are good planets for the Virgo natives. So there's not that much of the vulnerability. And even like I always go by the Kal Purush Kundli as well. Seventh house is like the public marketplace. Both Saturn and Rahu, they feel very good. See, the thing is, when we talk about, okay, just because lately I've been doing a lot of the work for the on the mundane, the Madini Jyotish. So Virgo is also the rising for the Israel and for the Russia as well. So the thing is that this is a kind of a alignment which is empowering the Virgo. So the thing is, that's what I'm worried about. That okay, that the Virgo, even the countries under the control of this rising, or even the people, they might be too powerful, too empowered that they can just go, that like you're not able to handle the energy. So it's
Mhm.
just like that. A lot is dependent on the way you handle and you deal with the energy. It's just not like that. You're not under the what do you call that? The fury or the vulnerable zone or red line of the nature. That is more getting applicable for the Aries where it is happening in the 12th, for the Leo where it is happening in the 8th house, being in a wrong place at a wrong time and being involved. For the Virgo Lagna natives, I would say rather it is actually empowering them too much. Like any severe escalation news which will come, it might come in the next 2 weeks, either from the Russia or from the Israel, because they both are strongly being ruled by the Virgo. Now, talking about from the individual point of view, so yes, the matters of the seventh house, I would say that contemplation, meditation is much more recommended for the Virgo Lagna natives. it's not a very healthy energy to do a lot of the contemplation right now about which partner, like in the business, is good for me, which partner is not good for me, how much my partner is contributing, how am I being treated in the relationship. For example, in the morning only I did a reading for a person. uh, you would not believe, Libra Lagna, in the Ashtak Varga, in the 11th house, I guess he has 50 points in the 11th house. Now in the he has got all the like three or four planets in the Libra Lagna. The guy is born on a Chaturdashi as well. The Venus energy is all around. Born on a Friday, all Venus, all Venus. Now, when he was asking about the partnership, he was asking about the business partnership only. Now, when I looked at the seventh lord is the Mars, and it is conjunct with Rahu in the Scorpio in the second house. So that's what I told him. See, you are being too nice or too Venusian. You care for everyone. You have got the business yoga as well. The work or the kind of business he wants to get into, that entity commodity, his chart was well suited for that as well. The only thing is that be very mindful the people you will collaborate with. This could be a case that initially everything is fine. Later on, the business partners start bullying you, dominating you. You get to know that your business partner has got some very dark political connection, and he's like this. So yeah, you have to be very mindful of that. So that's what I'm saying. For the Virgo Lagna, they are in an empowered position, but just in the matters of the seventh house, don't be don't do any of the analysis or contemplation introspection right now, because there is going to be that sort of thing that you might lean towards something negative, something which is lacking. So just the relationship and the commercial aspiration has to be realistic. Like you have to set the realistic bar of expectation for the next 1.5 months. That's all what I can say for the Virgo.
Yeah, I think also for the Virgos, I mean, they're getting empowered now because K2 is about to leave their
Lead.
ascendant,
Yes.
right? So a lot of Virgos have had a pretty rough time uh, if they're not spiritual. That's kind of what I've noticed. If they're not spiritual, they've had a rough time with their life because that's kind of the missing link with K2. With K2, it can be rough if you don't want to, like have a partnership end, because I've seen that with this K2 going over, on the Lagna for Virgos, the ending of a relationship that might have lasted a really long time happened to this person. And they were suffering a lot, but really they knew that it was over for a long time, but they didn't want that to end because of their own social status, right? So when you're thinking about these things and you're not like being spiritual about it, you're not thinking, maybe it's best for both of us, instead of holding on to that, thinking, being angry about it. Because that's another thing with K2 is people forget that K2 is a Rudra. It's a Rudra energy. So if you don't channel that energy into something spiritual, something angry is going to happen, or you become angry. So I think with the Virgo Lagnas, the best thing to do right now is just kind of like really just think about what you want for yourself for the future, but don't make any decisions right now. Just find, with that Jupiter in the ninth house, thinking if you have counselors or mentors or anybody that you want help with, like in a business transaction or in a relationship, this is a really good time to seek that advice and kind of really just think about how that's going to impact your decision. Don't be too bold and don't feel so empowered. Like you're saying, don't feel like you have all the power now, right?
Let's move to the people who have been facing a lot of the heat from the past couple of weeks. Yeah, for the Libra natives. See, I generally look at this whole transit in this way that Saturn and Rahu, they both are like good planets for the Libra Lagna natives. Even in the transit rules, if you go by the transit rules and all from the Trishadya Bhava, like 3, 6, 11 and all, 10, 11, 3, 6, 10, 11, Upachya Bhavas. So both Saturn and Rahu like considered as good from over there. Like their movement from there is generally considered as good. And we say this thing that okay, even if I always say that the way I see the difference between the even amongst all the Dushtana Bhava, sixth house, eighth house, 12th house. So the thing is, the concern with the eighth and the 12th house is that the third power is at work in the eighth and the 12th. Sixth house has got most of the flaws which are of the human plane. which can be dealt on a human plane. It's the 8th and 12th which takes it to the next level. But the thing is with the sixth house, and even if there's like too much of the malefic energy which is going over there, so it will actually help them to destroy their enemies, get rid of the debts, and get rid of the vices, any of the problems. So I would say that yes, this is the like any shift, any transformation which they will experience in the next 1.5 months. It's going to be like taking them in the right direction. So like when this whole storm, dust storm will settle down, they will see that things have been in the right perspective at the right places. So yes, for the Libra Lagna, all what I can say is that just like don't by yourself, don't get involved in other people's drama, other people's politics, mind your own business, do your job diligently, even at work. Take all the instruction from the bosses documented so that if someone makes you a scapegoat, you have a proper proof to show that, hey, I was at right, I did my job in a right way. And yes, that's all what I can say. I would say that for the Libra Lagna, I'm not seeing them that much vulnerable. Whatever they have been dealing with in the past couple of months and all, this is going to be the end of it. And the clear perspective will come to them, because a lot many people are like complaining this thing that life is all over. Like we don't have a like that motivation now to get up in the morning and do our job, that dedication to hit the gym, be regular with our daily routine and schedule. Everything has been haphazard. So it's just like that. It's gonna be like for the next 1.5 month after May, the power will be back. And I would say I'm not seeing the Libra Lagna vulnerable at all. I'm not seeing Libra Lagna natives at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing for the Libras to remember, I know a lot of Libras, and it's funny because they don't really think of themselves as Venusian. They don't ever like latch onto that energy. They're not really focusing on that. And if you think about it, actually, this is a really potent time to really, kind of get into some of that Venusian stuff, even if it's on a mundane level, even if it's on like a, more like a material level, like for people that are Libra Lagna natives and like, always tell certain people, like if they're, for example, for women, makeup means a lot, for most women. And there are, some men that wear makeup too now. So it's like, if you're a Libra Lagna native and if you feel just kind of yucky and you don't feel good about yourself, do something Venusian. Give yourself like a mini Venus remedy. Like right now would be a really good time. Make your desk at work beautiful. Take a little picture of, Goddess Lakshmi and put it right on your desk. Do something to make yourself feel elevated, because I know it's really hard to pull yourself out of that feeling when you're feeling like everything's against you or everyone's against you, or when you go to work and you feel like the whole office is against you and you're the only one that feels the way you do something for yourself in that way. We practice Jyotish, so you have this extra edge that other people don't have. So if you're having a workplace issue, take something to your desk and do a little Vastu remedy. And that way you can kind of clear that energy. And just seeing that little picture of Goddess Lakshmi or your Ishta Devata or your Kula Devata, or, if you have a different religion, put that picture of that deity on your desk. That is something benefic that you can look at, because something like that seems insignificant actually isn't, because it'll elevate you every time you look at it.
And yes, just like that, the ascendant lord is a part of that. So health is one area where I would say that yes, they have to be mindful of their health and all. Although the case is different, ascendant lord is exalted. But yes, with retrograde and so many of the concerns, so yes, health is slightly a matter of concern. But in most of the ways, they don't have to be that much worried on that. Okay, now we will look at our
Scorpio.
scorpions, yeah, our scorpion friends. So yes, there's a lot of the energy which is going there in the matters of the fifth house. Christina, very like I forgot how many years back, like I saw one of the astrologer, he was also talking about that even Saturn from the fifth house, from the ascendant or moon, could be a matter of concern. I was like, okay, we cannot go like this, right? Otherwise Sade Sati is like, three houses, then the fourth house, then the eighth house, then the fifth house, then don't attach the blame to Saturn. Like there have been so many case studies where people in the influence of the Saturn, they have grown. They have, achieved so many big things. So many presidents have, taken the oath when they were in the Sade Sati. So we cannot put Saturn like this and held accountable for everything. Yes, for the again for the like the Scorpio Lagna natives, it's just like that. Mars will move soon, but around the next 1.5 week and all, this whole energy is like the fifth house. Fifth house very chiefly colors our decision making. So yes, they have to monitor, guard their thoughts, that if too much of the pessimism, negative thinking is coming in, or sometimes what happens is that generally, we say that you rebel on something on which you do not have any ground to sustain. So, like I follow palmistry as well. So we say in the palmistry, the Mars has got two plane. So inner Mars is all about the aggression and the impulse and all. But the genuine Mars, like a soldier who's disciplined, who stay firm, who does not vacillate, that is the outer Mars. So yeah, that is what I'm saying. So for the Saturn and Rahu is a typical energy of anarchy and rebelliousness. Saturn and Rahu. So if I were to say, Scorpions might be overwhelmed by this thing and these thoughts that okay, if things are not gonna be acting out the way I want, so let me put the force into it. Let me put the muscle into it. Let me put shouting and aggression to it, and that will make things go more bad for them. So my recommendation to the, because I have seen so many charts where people in a rush, they resign and then later on they regret. People who break up and later on they regret. And 90% of the Martian problems are created by own only. It's like your own behavioral personality flaws. It's not like that Saturn where you are a victim of the fate, or it's not like Rahu and Ketu where the life has made you helpless. Martian problems majority of the times can be fixed through working on ourself. So if I were to say for the Scorpions and all, so yeah, the kind of thoughts which are coming to them that need to be monitored, like especially for the females who are pregnant and all, they have to like just guard themselves, and generally it's like just like that, just refrain from any thoughts of rebelliousness. This is what the Scorpio Lagna native might be dealing with for the next 1.5 month. Slightly for people who are like studying something to do with the law, people who are studying anything to do with the technology and all, so those people can slightly get benefited. New idea, new perspective, new vision, new way of um, new strategies to put in the plan and all. It might work in your advantage in that way, because like fifth house, generally I have seen lot many independent consultant who work because of the energy of the fifth house. So it slightly can give you more perspective for looking at any given situation. But yes, not a very good energy for rebelling, breaking off, or resigning and all. So for all that kind of entities decision making, it's a strict no for the Scorpio Lagna for the next 1.5 months.
Yeah, I think also for Scorpios, if they're in a relationship or they're looking into, getting into a serious relationship, maybe they met somebody that they really like. I would say to be really careful how you express yourself with that person right now, because the fifth house of romance, and you said pregnancy and also children. So if you're in a relationship that's really new, you probably want to just kind of really think about how you present yourself to the other person, because like you said, the Martian issue really is impulsive behavior. That's like the one thing that's like the double-edged sword for the Martians, because it can get them into a really good situation, but it can ruin everything for them with like one wrong move, right? Or if you're in a romantic situation and maybe you don't know that person really well, and something happens and you shout at them and they're like, whoa, I didn't know you had that in you. That's that kind of energy that's going on with those planets, especially with the Jupiter transiting in the seventh house. Maybe they are in a serious partnership. So, I would say if you're feeling extra vulnerable around the eclipse, just spend some time by yourself. Don't really see that person until you feel like you're truly stable and emotionally like balanced, right? And also the occult practices, I think, for Scorpios, with all those planets in the fifth house, with the mantra siddhi, if they're
Yes.
doing any kind of chanting, it doesn't have to be Vedic chanting. There's a lot of Western mystery traditions that have Hebrew chanting that is really heavy
Yes.
part of it too. So, like, let's say you're studying the Kabbalah, or you're, part of the, Golden Dawn practice or something like that, and you're learning a new ritual, hey, I would say this is a good time to, on the eclipse, try a new ritual, right? That's why I gave the sun ritual, really, because the sun's part of the eclipse. But if there's a planet, that you're working with, like, let's say you're a Scorpion, and that Mars is in a funny place, maybe do something to help balance that Mars out if you're not practicing in the Vedic tradition, but try some occult practice on the eclipse or on the new moon and see how that goes for you.
Yes. Let's see for our Sagittarius friend. So yes, for the Sagittarius natives, it's going to be happening in the matters of the in the fourth house. So
Mm.
yes, we say this thing, especially like people who are like in any of the political seat and all, any of the like senior leadership role and all. Like the way, see, I do not know the chart of that guy in the India's judge in whose house they found that much money stashed up. But generally, even in the older times, I remember in some of the houses where the pressure cooker used to blast off, or before they used to use the cylinder used to blast off in the kitchen. Those people used to have Ketu and Mars in the fourth house. So Ketu and Mars in the fourth house, like boom, sudden where the fire break out in the house and all. So
Mhm.
again, for my Sagittarius Lagna guys, I'm not saying that it's gonna be happening with you. That just reminded me of this thing, that the domestic life, family life, your emotions are going to be very, very dry, very haphazard, and just running all over. So yes, if I were to say, whether if you are in any of the social work, you are working in the political sphere and all, I have been seeing this thing. Rahu and Saturn is a typical energy of the goonism, we say, the activism and protest. That is the kind of energy. So if you are on a top management, top leadership kind of role, and you're going through some sort of like, even in the transit, it's like you have right now Rahu Ketu inversion, or you are in a dasha which is making you very confrontational and agitation prone. So then this could actually create energy like that. And if I were to say for the Sagittarius Lagna, 1.5 months, the major purchases of the fourth house, which is, this could be any buying any apartment, or like buying any new vehicle and all. So much better if that can be like, because see, even the fourth lord, the house lord, is also there in the sixth house, so which is again not a very good energy. You might end up buying those things which you either don't need it right now, or later on they will lose their value and all, their resale value or anything. So yes, and the main thing is about the inner emotions. So for the Dhanu Lagna natives, and see, I will not say that because it's a water sign. Because I remember, like in my house, in my family, like my dad, he uses the fire ritual, the Havan, every day. So in my home, the Havan happens every day. But just because it's a water sign, so all what I can say is that yes, like any of the, like the meditation is the key. Meditation is the key right now for them. And even in the, like the, we have this habit of, like, once in a while we put the sprinkle the Ganga Jal in the house and
Yeah.
keep the house purified. So yeah, the home environment in a, and again for the Dhanu Lagna natives during this time as well, even their diet. Now you would say that okay, it has, the diet has got more to do with the second house. But even after that, whatever is going there in your stomach and your chest, your emotions. So observing, monitoring their diet during this time will become very important. Refrain from any major purchase connected with the fourth house. And most importantly, people who are in a top leadership role, top management role, and especially people who are like dealing with the public domain, like they're in the public front and all. So be mindful of your behavior, of your conduct. You don't want to give any wrong message and invite any criticism, any kind of very strong backlash. So just be very mindful. Like that's all what I can say for the Sagittarius.
Yeah, or they can even do like if they are Hindu or they practice Hindu rituals, they can do like a Rudra Abhishek, or they
Yes.
can do like a simple, like if you don't know the whole the Rudra path, I don't know the whole Rudra path.
Mhm.
So you could just do Nama Shivaya
Visual.
right
Yes.
on that. Um, Another practice that might be nice is if you're near a body of water, is give yourself a little snan. Go to the beach and take a dip in the water, because the water is going to really be helpful for all of that concentration of energy in that fourth house. It'll really help make the mind better. And I would say, yeah, that's probably the best thing for them, really.
And if I were to say, just you can also take small. See, again, these kind of things are always done symbolic. So you can also take the Saturn and the Rahu things are like generally are is connected with the black sesame seeds and all. So just a
Mhm.
few of them, if you have any water body next to you where you live, so you can just just take it after like especially on the Saturday morning and all, like rotate it anti-clockwise 3 times over your head and just then put it out in the flowing water and all. So again, symbolic. You don't have to take too much. And again, it's an organic thing. It's not gonna do any harm to the nature. It's not like something plastic or something, right? But it's just small, so it's just a little bit of it, and you can just put it in the flowing water. So that is also way you are getting rid of the negative energy of the Saturn and Rahu.
Yeah,
So
that's excellent. That's a great remedy. I like that because sesame seeds are really easy. And even if you're out in public doing it and you don't want people to know what you're doing,
oh,
like you're
yes, 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 yes.
saying, you're just like do. You like throw it. It will the birds will eat it. So that's even better because it's probably gonna be crows eating it, right? So
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
You get all of it taken care of with that little ritual.
And talking for the Capricorn. So for the Capricorn natives, yes, generally we say that Saturn is their ascendant lord. Rahu is a very important planet for them, and this whole like Saturn and Rahu energy in a way kind of influencing the matters of their like Saturn and Rahu influencing the matters of their third house. So generally we say this thing that the transit of the Saturn and Rahu from the third house is generally considered as good. Saturn and Rahu, they both moving from the third house. So in a way, so if I were to say for the next 1.5 months, it's like yeah, just be very just don't be too aggressive, don't be too headstrong when it comes down to the way you want to run things, the way you want to plan and execute things, like my way or highway. Even like there's going to be a lot of the churning up which will happen in the matters of their relationship with their friends, with their siblings as well. So we say this thing that the Saturn and Rahu energy is all about, and that too meeting in the Pisces. So like a lot many people will do this kind of mental introspection that the kind of energy they are getting from people around them, how much time they are wasting in playing just video games and doing those things which are not very healthy, which is not very productive. So yes, this is how it is going to be happening for the Capricorn Lagna. I'm very much sure that now the planets are going to be getting aligned in a perfect way. Rahu in the second house, Saturn in the third house for the next like couple of years and all, Saturn for the 2.5 years and all. So just like that for the next 1.5 month. So this is what is going to be the stress point or the focal point which has to be for them. And yes, don't be too hard on people around you. Sometimes it's like where too much of the concerns and issue of the bullying which happens. So too much of the bullying and getting things your way, fighting with your neighbors. Again, see, it's very sad thing. I'm bringing this up here because there is this one guy, very 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 promising scientist in India, and in one of the province in Punjab, I guess in Mohali. And he recently he died. He was already having some kidney issue, dialysis issue, and all. And just because in some of the places where like people get too aggressive when it comes down to the parking issue and all, and there was some pushing around which happened with his neighbor, and a very promising in terms of if you're a scientist. So 39 is a very young age, 39 years old, and yeah, he died. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like third house is like all about. Sometimes we don't realize that okay, you might be very strong, but this you don't know about the person next to you, right? He might be much more stronger in some other way and all. So yes, refrain from any confrontation. And I'm very much sure that all those areas and unproductive, unhealthy things which have been costing them a lot of their time in the next 1.5 months, there might be contemplation. They will go through that in the next 1.5 month, this is how it is going to be building up for them. Both Saturn and Rahu from the third house in the transit, in the natal placement, are considered as very good. And all that rebelliousness which they will happen or they will feel, they will go through, it will only end up churning something positive, something productive for them.
Yeah, I'd say for the Capricorns, if you're feeling like all of those negative energies and you're feeling like really triggered, maybe do like a little practice where you take a notebook and you write down all of those negative
Yes.
things
Hmm.
and crumple it up, throw it away, burn it, get rid of it, because that's a really good exercise for the third house too. You know, in K2, a lot of the times writing is connected to K2 too, right? So I think for them to balance that out and help them kind of work through this this little bit of energy that's passing through that might feel a little bit uncomfortable for them, especially with that, like, that Mars in the sixth house. They might be feeling like a certain way about their work routine or, all that aggression. Just write it or work it out in the gym. Do some weightlifting, something that works out the arms and the upper body to help strengthen the chest area and this area for yourself.
Talking for our Aquarians friend. So for the Aquarians, yes, for the Aquarians, the ascendant lord becomes the planet Saturn, and it is going to be conjunct with Rahu, that too in the second house. So what I personally feel is like Krishnas, especially people who are like in any of the family business, people who are like, because see, we cannot overlook this fact that majority of the big businesses and the big business families are somehow in the business of the Saturn only. This could be oil, this could be any of those shipping and minerals and this. All those are the Saturn ruled professions only. Sun can make you famous, sun can give you fame and that regality and all, but the actual money and the wealth, generational ancestral wealth, is connected with the Saturn. And just because it is the second house. So I would say that for all those kind of people in whose case it is getting applicable, so just don't be right now is not a very good energy for like people who are going through these kind of situation where the family assets are being allocated within the family members and all. So there might be concern over there. For a general masses, this is a sensitive time where the expenses can suddenly go very high. Or like the way we say that Saturn and Rahu, when they are like in this kind of alignment and all. So people who experiment with things that okay, this way of working and doing the business is not working, let me get a new guy on the board, let me get a new vendor, let me get a new service provider on the board. So those experiments is not a very good energy for the next 1.5 months for that. And yes, because we say this thing that the kind of energy which is getting concentrated right now in the second house. So there's a lot of ideas which you have, lot many things which you want to do. It's just like that the omens right now is asking you to keep it low. So omens are saying that okay, you might be filled with ideas and resources and all, but the time and the stars are not aligning in a perfect way. And yes, people who are like purely in the Saturn business, people who are in family business, they have to be very mindful during this time. So the stress point is going to be like some sort of rebelliousness, or like people I generally come across where people are pinning their blames of their own failures to the family, or they are looking for someone to attach the blame for their own shortcomings and all. So this is not a very good energy for all of that. You want to rebel it for the good reasons, but not in a way of pinning your own shortcomings to the family that okay, they did not supported me, they did not do good for me. So just like that, this is just the just because of the eclipse energy, Saturn, Rahu, and the whole nature being unsettled might be taking your consciousness and your mind towards these kind of fault finding. That's all what I can say. Just keep it low, especially in the matters of the family and the finances for the next 1.5 months. Like, yeah, that's what my top of the mind.
Yeah, this is a less is more energy, right? When it comes to speaking to people or interactions, like if you live in a home with many people, maybe you live with roommates or you live with family members, and you're feeling really agitated with them, like you were saying, you're in these situations. Maybe a little Mona Vrata would be great right now. Just
Yes, yes, yes.
really just working with that type of energy, I think would actually benefit these people a lot if they're feeling that way, especially with when it comes to the second house. Food and words are so important. I'm a big believer of everything that you say has to be, you have to be able to back it up. And not only that, it should be on the positive side. You shouldn't say negative things about people or to people, because I've heard that saying, every unbroken, every broken promise is another janma, right? If you make a promise to people. So if you're in that situation where you've made a promise to someone and you can't keep it, or you're not intending on keeping it, it's better that you don't say anything at all until you're sure of what you are going to do in that situation.
Let's see the
Our Pisces friends, we
yeah.
finally made it to the end.
Made it to the name. So, okay. So now when we talk about for the Pisces, yes, a lot is happening in their first house. See, both Saturn and Rahu, it's like, they carry this energy of like Saturn in a way carries the energy from the 11th house and the 12th house being there. So I would say that yes, deep inside in their life, there's a lot of the boundaries which will break, like especially where people who are like living or like in their life there is anything which is not serving any purpose, or where they're like fantasizing about something which is not being very productive. This could be a partner, this could be a job, this could be a hobby, so whatsoever. See, again, I see the Saturn and Rahu combination, that too in the Pisces, is a typical combination of purification, of cleansing, of breaking down things, breaking down all the old worn out structure which is not like letting you bloom to your full potential. It is not letting you like rise and shine and function with the best of your capabilities. So yes, if I were to say for the Pisces Lagna natives, they don't have to worry about anything, and especially people who are like very much devoted and dedicated to spirituality, people who are like very much driven towards the yogic kind of lifestyle and all. So it's going to be a very good time for them, especially like if you like in India and all, I see like people who do a lot of the pilgrimages, people
Mm.
who keep a lot of the sankalp, they do a lot of the fasting and all. So especially for the ritualistic mindset people, this is going to be a very good time. So I'm not seeing that much vulnerability in their case. It's just like that people who are like the it's like, but again, even in that case, see the way when I mentioned it for the Leo Lagna case, it was different because Saturn and Rahu, the energy of the protest and rebelliousness is acting in their eighth house. In their case, if they are by themselves working as a activist, they are like working as a journalist. I keep on coming across so many like readings from people who are like working as a like as a lawyer. They are like doing philanthropic humanitarian work, like Doctors Without Borders, people who work for the United Nations. People right now, we are at the comfort of our house. But imagine they are like those people with the United Nations and organization who are in the war affected countries, doing the humanitarian work, doing the charitable work and all. So if those kind of people who are like contributing and like they have dedicated their life to higher purpose, those people will actually get benefited. See, Saturn and Rahu are, see, the only difference between the benefic and the malefic in astrology is that benefic can give you with ease. Malefic does not prohibit it. Malefic give you only with struggle. You show bravery, they give you. You have to show the bravery. But if you were like, no, 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 I'm being very nice. Oh, what will happen? No, they will not give you. And if you are right now in that stage where you are, and see, I'm telling you, Krishna, sometimes these kind of stories, when it comes to you, it gives you that kind of feeling of, see, when we talk about those countries, like you take up the case of the El Salvador, when this guy Bukele, I forgot, I'm so
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
miss.
Night Bukele, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
imagine that guy, a country which was, I have seen so many documentaries way back in 2015, 16, that they have those gangs there. It's impossible to remove those gangs. Nothing can be done. The country is being ruled by the gangs. And one guy came and he cleaned the whole country. Imagine one guy cleaned the whole country. So these are those people who have Saturn and Rahu working constructively for them. These people are like fearless. So, who bring the mass revolution in the countries, and they are seen as a symbol of resistance, symbol of respect. These are people, Saturn and Rahu. So I would say that for Pisces Lagna, again, see, Saturn and Rahu like are typical very global kind of energy. So if you're living your life in that kind of domain, higher purpose, higher philosophy, giving back to the world, those people can get benefited. And yes, I'm not seeing them much on the radar based on my personal observation calculation. I'm not seeing the Pisces Lagna that much on the radar. The summary giveaway from me is that it's the Aries Lagna, it's the fire sign, Aries, Leo, and the Saggy. These are the three natives who have to be careful. But for rest of the people, if your chart is strong, your running dashas are favorable, you are very spiritual mindset, like you are very spiritually oriented. So other people can also make the best out of it during this time.
Yeah, I think let's say if you're a Pisces rising, or you have a Pisces moon and you're in a Saturn dasha right now, this could be a really good energy for you if you're, taking the right steps. Like you said, being fearless. That's why I mentioned it in the presentation. It's important to be in the mindset where you're not constantly fearing. And I know that a lot of the way the world is set up these days is to make people fearful, to make people scared. I think that amplified in 2020, but I think with a lot of the clearing of these energies, that's why I brought back all the way back to the 60s. We're seeing the ending of a cycle of that. I think people are really tired of living in a society that is constantly promoting fear. And this is a very Pisces kind of perspective. Like, we're tired of living this way. We don't want to live in a world where everybody has to fear everything. Everybody has to worry about, like getting held up at gunpoint, or, getting stabbed for a parking. Like, that's no way to live. And I think that's really the big takeaway with a lot of what we talked about today with these conjunctions. There is an ending of a huge cycle. I saw somebody mention that the last time a lot of these combinations happened was like 5,000 years ago, right? Was like, and this Jupiter Atichari, like, when was the last time Jupiter did this, right? When was the last time Jupiter went at the speed that it did? Even if we're going back to 2020 with this Jupiter Saturn conjunction, that conjunction, I was in a different session this morning, and we were talking about like historical combinations. And actually, Jupiter Saturn combinations are something that one historian studied, and they were able to come up with that combination as the reason for how we can pinpoint when the Mahabharata actually happened. Right. So it's through all of these energies, living through these cycles, and finally getting to the point where you're saying, you know what, I don't want to live like that anymore. And you can make that decision yourself. I don't want to be fearful. Right. So I think for the Pisces people, you guys are in a great position because you have this natural access to this Akash Tattva, right? To this psychic energy. And you guys are going to be holding a lot of this energy during the eclipse. So I would say make use of that and see how you can use that to transform the elements of your life that you're not happy with. Like, maybe you want to move, and you want to move out of the country, and you've been wanting to move out of the country for a long time, or move back to your home country. Maybe start setting those plans into motion and take that sankalp during this eclipse. I'm going to be fearless. I really want to move to, let's say you want to move to El Salvador, right? We're talking about El Salvador.
Yes.
Maybe I want
Yes.
to move to El Salvador because I want to be somewhere totally different. I want to see what
Yes.
that's all about. you know
Yes.
this is a lot of those energies. Like, that's fearlessness doesn't mean like jumping off a cliff. Fearlessness means like you're gonna approach life with a different perspective than you've had before, and you're not going to worry about what other people think about you. You're going to
Yes.
say, hey, you know what, I'm going to change jobs because in my heart I feel like I want to do this social work now, right? Or now I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I want to be a psychologist, right? Or I don't want to work in marketing anymore. I want to be an astrologer. Like, whatever your heart is feeling, this is a great time to investigate that with these energies being in Pisces.
Well, thanks. It's like Christina, it was like a good two-part session kind of thing which we did. Again, I would say the same thing. It's like we actually went over a couple of things twice. But again, those who are in love with astrology, they are the true seeker of knowledge. They will not find it redundant and all. So thanks a lot, Christina. Yeah, it was very, very informational. And on a Saturday, what could be a better thing for me on a fasting on a Saturday day for the Shani Devta, talking about the praise of the Shani Devta. And Rahu is
Yeah.
also very important. We actually talked good
Yeah.
things about them. So
Yes, as much
thanks
as
a lot, Christina.
possible.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me back, Nipun.